Hello, beautiful friends and book lovers. I hope that you're all doing well. If you're new here, my name is Heather, and here at Heather's Book Review, I tend to read and review mysteries and thrillers, but I will read just about anything. And today I am filming my April 2023 reading wrap-up. So I'm actually about to meet a friend for lunch, and I looked outside, almost end of April. We are end of April right now. And last week it was 80 degrees here. And now I was looking outside and it's flurrying. Snow flurrying right now. So I was gonna curl my hair, put a couple curls in it. And I was like, you know what? No, I'm just putting it in a bun because it's just going to fall if I were to curl it right now. Anyways, I hope wherever you are having nice weather. April is always crazy for us here in the Chicagoland area. But anyways, getting to the wrap up, I listened to one audiobook in April and I read 3 books. So I'm actually going to start with reviewing the one audiobook that I listened to in the month of April. And this is courtesy of Simon & Schuster Audio. Thank you so much, Simon & Schuster. I chose to listen to Claim Your Confidence by Lydia Fenet. This is the author of The Most Powerful Woman in the Room Is You, which I have heard great things about, and I actually have not read or listened to that book yet. So this is my first book by Lydia. And you guys know, if you've been here a minute, I'm all about listening to what I deem self-help books. I just love to spice up the genre a little bit every now and then and just read something that isn't a thriller. And I love books that are centered on confidence because I feel like that is something even now that I'm still working on and probably will always be working on in life. So I felt like this was just going to be the perfect audiobook listen. On my rating scale, I am giving this an enjoyable read and a 4 stars. I really liked hearing Lydia's perspective. She tells you all about just her life, her journey, primarily more of like the business part of her life and just how she's really grown her confidence just in like her workforce and a little bit of parenthood too, which was just refreshing to hear. But she gives a lot of tips and tricks and just, I don't know, I really just enjoyed listening to her life through her eyes and how she gained confidence, different levels of confidence at different parts of her life. I did feel like this book would really be great for people who are in like a business workforce setting because like so much of it was, hello. You guys know our pup likes to make an appearance. It's like when I'm sitting here, he's like, well, are you gonna pet me or? I felt like this book offered a lot of insight on how to gain confidence like in the business setting and putting yourself out there and just like reaching your goals. So some of it was applicable to me. If you're new here, I am a teacher. So a lot of it, I was listening to her and like how she was working with colleagues and trying to like get higher ranked, I guess, in her position. So for me, that wasn't really something that I could apply to my career, but I feel like most of my friends are in like a business setting. So I feel like I could listen to Lydia talking about her life experience and see some of my friends going through something similar. And so yeah, even though it didn't like 100% relate to me, I still, you know, could take her tips and tricks for confidence and then apply them to my own life, if that makes sense. So I really enjoyed this book. It was a really positive listen and yeah. And we already know my next 3 books are all thrillers. So here we go. The first one I'm going to talk about is courtesy of William Morrow Publishing. Thank you so much, William Morrow. They sent over a copy of With My Little Eye by Jocelyn Jackson. This is my 3rd book that I've read from Jocelyn Jackson, and I was super excited about this. I try to look at the upcoming thrillers like months in advance just so I have some thrillers to keep my eye on. And it says, His Game, His Rules, Her Life. This is about a single mom who has a teenage daughter, and she was once a starlet. And she feels like she's being stalked, and she's getting these letters that are very like ominous and just I don't know. So they end up moving and then she's getting these letters again. So the whole book is you're following through her perspective of like the new people she's meeting, her neighbors, she's getting these letters, what's going to happen between her and her daughter. And on my rating scale, I was a little torn because I feel like I was right like at the end of decent but flawed to an enjoyable read. So I felt like since I was so close to it, I'm ending up giving this one an enjoyable read. For star rating, I'm giving it 3 stars. And my rationale is I felt like some parts of the book were really heavily descriptive. I was kind of like, okay, like I want to get the ball rolling. Let's get to some super exciting scenes. But the ending, I feel like really picked up. And I can't say so much without spoiling it, but there were parts of the ending that I actually really appreciated. So I ended up giving it, that's why I was so close. I'm like, well, I feel like it's between the decent but flawed and an enjoyable read. But I feel like the ending just kind of like redeemed it for me. So yeah, I mean, I read it pretty quickly in under a week. Is it one of my favorite thrillers of the year? No, but I think it would make for like a good beach poolside read. The next book I read, again, courtesy of William Murrow. Thank you so much. This beautiful finished copy of The Last Word by Taylor Adams. If this name sounds familiar to you, it is because he is the author of No Exit, one of my favorite thrillers ever, and it is also now a movie on Hulu, which actually, my husband and I watched it and we thought it was pretty good. So yeah, again, told you I like to look at the thrillers coming out in advance. Super, super, super excited for this because I loved No Exit, and this was pretty good. For a star rating, I'm giving it 3.5, and on my rating scale, this is definitely a solid, enjoyable read. I didn't have trouble making up my mind with this. This is all about a woman who gives a 1-star rating for a book that she's recently read, and then the author is arguing with her in the comments, like, how dare you give my book a 1-star rating? Like, I've worked so hard on this. Like, they're just going back and forth. And then she's at this beach house by herself and all this crazy spooky stuff starts happening. This book is like a wild roller coaster. Some parts of the book felt a little bit, I don't know, like I could see coming in the dramatic sense. Like, it's a dramatic book, right? It's meant to be fun. It's meant to be like an edge of your seat thriller. You're dying to know what happens. One of the twists near the end I did call, but there was like, that was okay for me. It didn't ruin the experience for me. I felt like it was really, really, really fun to read. Like, this is one of the books I feel like, especially this year, which is probably like the most fun for me to read. You know, like I'm on the edge of my seat. I'm dying to know what happens. And yeah, definitely an enjoyable read. I thought it was just a lot of fun. So yeah, if you're looking for like a secluded setting book where the protagonist is by herself and creepy stuff is happening, but it's also like wild and crazy and dramatic, then I would definitely pick this one up. Okay. I wanted to say this in the beginning of the video because I like to let you guys know like how many of each category book I have read for the month, and I totally forgot. But for this month, I only have one Go Get This Book Now, and it is a book that I bought knowing that like I've kind of been in a little bit of a reading slump this year, especially when it comes to thrillers. I've only read one thriller that has like blown me away, which I'm actually filming a dedicated review to. Unfortunately not today because I'm running out of time. Maybe later this afternoon, who knows. But and that was Look Closer by David Ellis, which again, I'm filming a entire review on that very soon. But I also bought this book knowing that like it would probably get me out of a reading slump. And that was Gillian Flynn's Dark Places. I used a book of the month credit for this book. I had an extra credit and they have this as an add-on. So I read Sharp Objects years ago and loved it. Loved it more than I loved Gone Girl. Like, Sharp Objects, that book delivers like such a punch, right? Like you're reading it and you're like, oh my God, that ending is just phenomenal. So good. So I obviously heard great things about Dark Places and wanted to get this book. And of course, this is a go get this book now. However, I'm sure like most of BookTube has already read it. If you haven't read it, this came out in 2009, I believe. Yes, it did. And this book, oh my gosh. It's a great thriller. It's fantastic. I didn't love it as much as Sharp Objects because I feel like I did see parts of the ending coming, and that this ending unravels like kind of slowly. Like you already know what happened in the way beginning of the book. So you're basically trying to figure out like who the killer is because you're already set up with like the scene in the beginning of the book, I guess, if that makes sense. However, that being said, you're like slowly putting the puzzle pieces together as you read. So it's like, I felt like the ending didn't deliver like that massive like burst of satisfaction that Sharp Objects did, but it was still so good. It follows this family. It's like past and present point of view. And the daughter in the present point of view is basically trying to figure out if her brother is the one that like murdered their whole family. And he's been in prison. It was like a brutal, brutal murder. They lived in this small like farming town, and like basically the entire family was like axed to death except for our main character. And then the brother gets put in prison for it. So the whole book is like, you get multiple point of views, the brother, the mom, our main protagonist, and most of those are like past point of views. And then of course, what's going on in the middle of the story with her like investigation, I guess, into her own family's murders. And it's a sad book. I posted on Instagram when I was done reading this that like I just needed to read something happy, because at the like there are just so many parts in this book and like so much character depth for certain characters where you just like your heart just breaks for them. I mean, the writing is phenomenal. I felt like the character development, like I was there, I was watching this like play out, and yeah, I mean, it's a really good book. I understand why so many of you love it. I was definitely, like I just said, really sad after reading it. I think this is a book that I will think about often, just like I do with Sharp Objects and thrillers that really just like stand out to me. So this is definitely top 5 books of the year for me so far. And yeah, it definitely got me out of that reading slump I was in, and like is giving me hope for like just getting more 5-star thrillers in my 2023 book repertoire. So that is it for the month of April for me. I'm really excited to just continue reading and hopefully read a lot of good ones in May. Summer break is up and coming for me, so I'm gonna have a lot more time to read in the months of June and July for sure. So yeah, I'm just super excited. But please leave in the comments what you read in the month of April. And as always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye, you guys.